Play ball. Hot off the press, handicappers from WagerTalk, Sports Memo, and the Gold Sheet have collaborated on the 2023 WagerTalk Media MLB Betting Guide. From World Series odds to regular season win totals and everything in between, this year's betting guide features previews on all 30 teams, all 6 divisions, and season-long awards like the Cy Young, MVP, and Rookie of the Year. Each preview contains key roster acquisitions and departures to help you get up to speed before opening day. Visit wt.buzz/MLB23 to download your free guide, and we'll see you in the batter's box.
Welcome, everybody, to Wager Talk Today. I am Lawrence Presman. He is Teddy Covers, and you're watching the best daily sports betting show on the planet. Teddy, man, what is going on today? Anything important?
Oh, in about 15 minutes, the first game of the big dance tips off. Another one comes at 40 after the hour. But the real madness, you want to stick with Wager Talk Today throughout. Don't worry, you have plenty of time to watch the show. The real madness will come as the day progresses. That being said, we do have a loaded show. Steve Merril is going to join us first. He's going to talk a couple of tournament games for today. Northern Kentucky against Houston and Penn State against Texas A&M. Dwayne Bryant's going to join us next. He's going to talk a little NBA, OKC, and Toronto, as well as another matchup, breaking down Penn State and Texas A&M. My big game breakdown, I'm going to talk a little Northwestern Boise State, and Kyle Anthony's going to close out the show. He's going to talk UFC main event, Usman versus Edwards, Vettori versus Dolidze. So, and of course, if we do get 100 likes, Lawrence, you got a presidential address ready for today's show?
Certainly do, my brother. I'm in no rush today. The kids have already left to go skiing. And, well, I'm on day 8 of 9, so I'm not rushing to the hill. Man, it's starting. We're getting old, Teddy, because skiing 8 days in a row is not easy for sure. I am tired. My legs are sore. My back is hurting. But I'm going out again. I'm doing it again. Just going to ski in the afternoon. What do you got going on with the clients? Let's start right there because everything starts to go up shortly. So why don't we tell everybody what we're doing?
I'm passing in the NBA today. I did not find a play that I was wearing, and I'm really bummed.
Me too.
Rolling in the NBA, 14-2 the last 16, including another right side winner last night. So the NBA is going real well. It's been good, Prez. You know, all you guys talking number one NBA. I've hit 61% in the NBA over the last 13 months. Beat me. That being said, I have a treatment up available in college basketball for the opening round of the tournament today. 3 plays today. 1 goes early, 2 go later. You can get those all right now over at WagerTalkandSportsMemo.com. I'll be posting for tomorrow when we're done with the show today. So I like to do it, that's the way I do it, Lawrence. I don't know how you do it, but I tend to do it one day at a time in the tourney. I don't go round by round. First round, I'll do it one day, and each day I put up a place for the next day. How do you do it?
Well, I got 4 plays up for tomorrow already, so I am a bit ahead. But I got a 5-pack of college basketball today for clients. I got a big NHL play, too. I got one of my 4% NHL total bets. I'm on a 37-15 run in those. Beat me. That's me being a schmuck to you. But I, too, am passing in NBA, brother. I couldn't find anything as well. And I just want to say before Steve Merril comes in, one of our listeners, I think RJ Arsenault yesterday, types in, how do you handicap while you're on a ski trip type of a statement. Long story short, I'm off the hill at 3:30 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I go to bed at 11:30 at night. That gives me an insane amount of time to handicap. And I actually find that I'm getting more time here to handicap because I'm not going out. None of my friends are here. I'm just literally sitting at the kitchen table doing my work. So for all my clients not to worry. And I've already proved it, bro. I've won 4 of my last 5 days. I had another winning night last night. So no worries about my skiing. The handicapping is going well. The winning is back. And I got 6 bets for everybody tonight. Steve Merril joining us. Steve, How are you, my friend? And thank you so much for covering me.
Think about that much skiing in that amount of days. It is a physical activity, so I'm glad you're holding up.
Yes, John Clark, Prez does have friends, and believe it or not, every now and again, Teddy is one of them.
Hit the under.
Steve, I'm doing 26 out of 28 days of skiing, so I'm actually going to take Sunday off. I'm going to sit in the chalet and watch March Madness. So I'm good. I'm good. My body will hold up. We'll see what happens. Let's start right off the bat, man. You got two college basketball bets you want to talk about: Northern Kentucky versus Houston, 9:20 p.m. Eastern time. Houston minus 18.5, and a whole lot of pressure on this Houston team. Pressure that they haven't seen before like this. Who's going to win this game? How do we bet it?
Yeah, real quick, since you did the promos at the top, I'll do likewise. The game's tip in about 10 minutes. My bracket is still available. All 63 tournament selections and my national long shot pick and a long shot additional upsets, 8 first-round upsets. You want to get my bracket, not too late. You got a few more minutes. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com, along with all my best bets today. Let's look at some night games here. I chose a couple of night games, so we'll have a good shelf life here for the show and the viewers watching us later. Going to look at who I think is the best team in college basketball. They've been number one in the KenPom basically all season. That's the Houston Cougars, coming off a bad loss last weekend against Memphis. Sasser, the number one player, one of their best players, is out. There's concern there of how much he's going to play if he plays, but it won't matter tonight. And I always like backing good teams in a focused spot, and that is Houston. I also like the under in this game, though, because these are two slow half-court teams. You know, everybody knows Houston plays extremely slow half-court basketball, but so does Northern Kentucky. And Northern Kentucky is a 16 seed for a reason. They're one of the worst teams to get in the tournament. They really were lucky not to be in the play-in game that we saw the last couple of nights with those 16 teams. And talk about slow. Northern Kentucky, 358th tempo out of 363 teams this year. That's even slower than Houston, who's only 345. So the under makes sense here as well. So you start going, well, Steve, you like Houston, you lean under. What's the best way to play this? Well, let's not overthink it. Let's just play Northern Kentucky team total under, because if I like Houston in the under, I think that's the best play in this game. And I'm a little concerned with Sasser's status. They were 13 points weaker offensively per 100 possessions without him. So that's another reason I like the under in this one. But once again, I'm not going to overthink it. I look for Houston to dominate. Low-scoring game. Let's take Northern Kentucky under 51 total team points.
So when you're talking about under 51s, all right, basically you're saying you're not getting the free throw line, you're not hitting three-pointers, there's going to be no pace, and you're not going to have any offense. I mean, for me, that's a really low total. I understand how good Houston is defensively. And I understand that there's not going to be any transition buckets in this ball game. But from a value standpoint, can you get there under 51.5, or is this more in the lean category?
Well, no, it's a lean. I've got 5 strong best bets today, Teddy. I've got my complete bracket. This didn't make the cut, so that's why I'm using it here on the show as an additional game. So it is a lean, but I like Houston. I like the under. So the more I was looking at, the best way to play this is that team total, because it encompasses both of them. You're risking 1 unit instead of 2. And let's keep in mind, this is not a conference opponent for Northern Kentucky. First of all, Houston held all opponents this year to 56.5 points. All right, so that's only 5 points more than they got to do tonight against one of the weakest teams they've played all season. They weren't in a power conference, but they still played much stronger teams in this. And they held Cincinnati before this to 48 points, 25% shooting. They held East Carolina, the first game of the tournament, to 46, 31% shooting. Memphis got 75 on 51% shooting. The only other really time Houston had a bad defensive outing was against Wichita State at the beginning of the month. Gave up 65% shooting, 66 points. They came right back, and they held Memphis to 36% in that next game. Of course, they didn't play as well against them this past weekend. But once again, before the Memphis loss, they held both East Carolina and Cincinnati to 46 and 48. So very confident they can hold Northern Kentucky to less.
Steve Merril joining us, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com, exclusive handicapper, one of the best. Steve, Penn State, 10th seed, playing Texas A&M, 7th seed. I mean, from a betting perspective, none of that matters. Texas A&M minus 2.5. Total's been bet slightly up to 134.5. This game goes off at 9:55 p.m. Eastern time. When everyone is won or when everyone is lost, they're going to look to these games at the end of the day to bail them out or make them more. What do they do in this one?
Yeah, this is another one that just missed the cut for me. Once again, I've got 5 strong best bets for today on Thursday, today and tonight for my clients. I've also got my NCAA tournament bracket, which is still available for a few more minutes right now on my page, SteveMerrillWagerTalk.com. So this one was just a bit outside, but it is the late night cap, so it'll be a heavily bet game. And I do like Texas A&M in this one. This is the game that just missed the cut for me. And there's a few reasons. First of all, I'm looking to play against Penn State. You know, Teddy and I talked about this earlier in the week on Tuesday when we did some tournament talk, and I mentioned how those play-in teams, you know, the 11 seeds and in the first 4, how they always seem to make a run at least a couple games into the Sweet Six or the round of 16, if not further. First-year VCU aid all the way to Final Four a decade ago when they started that concept, and that tells me that teams that barely get in sometimes are better than people realize. But there's another way to look at it. Penn State barely got in, but they're a solid 10 seed. And this is a team, if you looked at Lenardi's projections a week ago, we're not even in the tournament, almost about a week ago. The reason Penn State gets in is because they go into Northwestern on March 1st and they win. And I was looking at the projections, was actually March 10th on a rematch against Northwestern. They were on the outside looking in. They beat Northwestern as a dog. They beat Indiana as a dog. And then they have a close loss to Purdue. And all of a sudden, not only are they a bubble team, they're a solid 10 seed. They've won 5 of their last 6 straight up in ATS just basically to make the tournament. A&M has also won 4 of their last 5, but they were actually one of the better teams in the SEC regular season. They're coming off a blowout loss to Alabama, who, along with Houston, I think are the 2 best teams in the tournament, so no shame there. Purdue, obviously, a very good team also. I just have a feeling Penn State is a little less in the tank here. They also played 1 extra game on March 9th, where Texas A&M didn't start till March 10th. So both teams are pretty fatigued. That's what kept this off my card, but I still think A&M's the better team. And I think the more I look at it, I think it's a better scheduling spot also for A&M. And I just don't know if Penn State has much left in the tank. We see teams often make a run like this just to make the postseason and then come up a little bit short in the first game. I think that could be the case tonight. So I'd like Texas A&M minus the 2.5.
So Penn State as an underdog since losing to Purdue on February 1st. They cover against Maryland at +8. They win outright against Illinois at +3.5. They win outright at Ohio State at +3. They win outright at Northwestern at +4.5. They win the first 3 matchups in the Big Ten tournament +3, +2, +3.5, and then cover the +7.5 against Purdue. So based on my math, that's 8 straight covers, most of them straight up wins for the Nittany Lions, catching points. When you see a team on a run like that, the other thing with Penn State also is all the close games. I mean, the fact that they've been covering so many of these. Penn State's last 8 games have all been decided by 4 points or less or in overtime. So when you see Penn State continuing to cover as a dog, and you see every Penn State game coming down to the wire, can you lay 3 points against them?
Yeah, I mean, that's obviously a concern, but 3 is basically a straight up win situation. Now, you could do minus 150 on the money line. This line is 2.5, still in a lot of spots, by the way. So 2.5, 3. But we're talking about a basket here. So, yes, you know, and this is one of the reasons it's not an official best bet, just missed the cut for me. That was one of my concerns. But I'm not going to overthink it here. When I get a 2.5 point favorite, I'm looking for a straight up win situation. I'm not going to rely on Penn State just to lose by 1 or 2. That would not be a reason to play them, in my opinion. And I really do think they could exhale now after the big tournament run, Big Ten tournament run. I'm not sure they'll be fully regrouped here, and they're facing a very tough SEC opponent. It's more of a fade of Penn State, and I think A&M is still the better team, laying a short number.
Guys, Steve Merrill, 63% win rate over the last 2 weeks in both college and NBA, and up 110 units in the last 2 years in both college and NBA. Beat that, Teddy. We got a promo. Steve, is this promo for everybody or just for you? Bracket 25. Get $25 off of any 7-day package. Bracket 25.
Yeah, actually, it's just for me, and I mentioned it in my Fade the Public. And I forgot to mention there is a Fade the Public college basketball edition video up there right now on Wager Talk TV right here for
Nice.
Thursday's games. I gave out that promo code there and there only. It hasn't been released anywhere else. So little bonus alert here. If you'd like to get any 7-day pass, whether it's NBA, by the way, number 1 in 2023 in the NBA at wagertalk.com, college hoops, or the combo 7-day all sports, you get an instant $25 discount by using the code bracket25. So any 7-day pass from Steve Merril, instant $25 discount with bracket25. Be sure to check out that Fade the Public video. I go over a ton of information for Thursday. I'm going to have a bonus one for Friday later tonight here on this channel. So hit subscribe and hit that bell for instant alerts when these shows and videos go live. And don't forget 5 strong best bets for Thursday. I'm not using the early game, so you still got time to get all 5 of my best bets, daytime and nighttime action in the NCAA tournament, plus my complete bracket, all 63 games, 8 first-round upsets. All that available right now. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Brilliant. Outstanding stuff. And Steve, you'll be hosting 1 or 2 times next week. We're going to bring you in at least a couple of times. Thanks for joining us, man. Teddy Covers, you went to see the play Frozen last night with your amazing boy, Isaac. Did Kara go with you or just you and the boy?
Yeah. The whole family went. Tickets were bought a long ago. So yeah, I'll give you guys a Frozen review today and what bettors learned. No, not so much. Look at the pictures. We put a couple of selfies in there. And the first one is me smiling with the boy during intermission. The second one, you got that first one to go up there, Dan? Yeah. That's me smiling. Yeah, everyone's happy. The second picture is how I really felt about going to Frozen last night instead of sitting at home watching basketball like I'm supposed to be doing. One of those deals you agreed to it months ago, then you realize, oh my God, it's today. So be it. And just worth noting, South Park Broadway Brodown is real for South Park fans. Let's talk about something we actually learned. All right. The biggest mistake I see people make every year. Pundits do it too. Not the biggest mistake. One mistake I see people making the big dance every year. And we see it in college football bowl season as well. When you have a conference that's struggling, usually we're talking about Power 5 conferences. Conference A gets 5 teams in and 4 of them lose opening night. The 5th team might be the juggernaut, but they'll be devalued in the markets. Don't be afraid to ride the one team from a conference that's struggling, but the one team is worth supporting. I'm going to talk about that a little bit in big game breakdown later in the show. The Mountain West, terrible recent track record of the tourney. Nevada got crushed before halftime last night. There might be a little bit of extra value on good Mountain West teams. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the show, but certainly look for a struggling conference to fade, but be sure to adjust if there's one team from that conference that's found a way. So that's what I learned last night, Lawrence. What about you?
Well, based on the second picture you showed, it really does confirm what it says about you, and that is you have miserable resting face. It happens to the best of us. I have happy resting face, but your baseline is just pure misery. Totally understand why that picture. Teddy, some of the guys in the chat room are saying, Prez, going on vacation during March Madness, what are you, nuts? So let me get this out of the way. Firstly, I live on vacation. I don't go on vacation. I'm on vacation for the rest of my life. I started Wager Talk with Johnny D and Marco D'Angelo way back about 7 years ago, 8 years ago now. I ran the company with Johnny for many, many years. Then we bought the Gold Sheet. We brought in Rick Alec, who owned the Gold Sheet at the time, and far better suited to being the CEO, and Teddy can attest to this, far better suited to being the CEO than I ever was. We started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. We now have a ton of staff, and I mean a ton. And I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not sure once they get past a certain number. So I stepped down. Rick Alec now runs Wager Talk with Johnny. And really, my entire life revolves around this show and handicap. Other than that, I do invest in some private equity deals. I invest in the stock market. I play in crypto. But on a whole, Teddy, I live on vacation. So these guys who think I'm on vacation on a ski trip, they don't pay attention, man. I've been on vacation for 4 years now. I just want to get that out there. Dwayne Bryant joining us. How many of these Punisher shirts do you have, or is it the same one you just wear every time you come on the show?
Well, this is only the second time I've been on, but yeah, this is the same one from before. So
Excellent.
Oh, we've lost
Dan,
Lawrence. Your signal's gone bad, buddy. So
yeah, and you know what, Teddy? It's going to happen. Dan, am I good now or no?
yeah.
Okay, well, nobody
Let's
needs
leave
to
Lawrence
see.
on the
Nobody
sidelines
needs.
for a few minutes till he gets his connection set up. And let's talk with Dwayne Bryant. Dwayne, you excited for the madness? We've had one game. It's the beginning of the first half. You don't need to turn it off. You don't need to turn us off. It'll be there for you. That being said, you excited about the big dance today? How you running?
Yeah, man. I mean, one of my plays just tipped off. My 5% play is tipping off pretty soon as well. I've got a later game tonight. I'm actually going to give that play out here on the show. I've got one NBA play up right now. I'm off a 4-0 NBA sweep last night, 12-3, 80% my last 15 in the NBA. Tonight's NBA plays backed by some team-specific situational angles that have gone a combined 29, 2, and 1, 94% this season. You can get that play on my page right now, Dwayne Bryant, WagerTalk.com.
Dwayne, I'm back now. Man, you are as good as it gets in handicapping, and we gotta after madness ends, we gotta bring you back on, and we want to talk about how you handicap and all these systems and angles that you use. We don't have time to do that now, so let's get right into the first game. It's NBA OKC at Toronto. OKC plus 5.5. How do we bet this game?
Well, the Thunder come into this game having won and covered 3 straight. If you go back a little further, they're 6-1 straight up in ATS in their last 7. They've been playing some great defense recently. They own the NBA's #1 defensive rating over their last 3 games, but they're facing a little better offense tonight than they faced during those previous 3 games. OKC's been a huge moneymaker as an underdog this season. 29, 15, and 1, 66% ATS when getting points. Digging a little deeper, they're 6-5 straight up and 8-3, 73% ATS as a non-conference road underdog. They're also 4-0 ATS on the road off back-to-back double-digit wins, which is the situation they're in tonight. On the other side, Toronto's coming off a 15-point win over Denver. Normally, that would be impressive, but Denver's in a funk right now. I mean, they couldn't even beat the Spurs. So, beating the Nuggets right now doesn't hold nearly as much weight as it normally would. Toronto's 0-4 straight up in ATS this season when coming off a double-digit win as an underdog. And they're also just 1-4 straight up in ATS as a non-conference home favorite of more than 3 but less than 9. Despite an average line of Toronto minus 5.5, they were actually outscored by 5.8 points per game in that set. So the bottom line here for me, I mean, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. OKC's been money as a dog all season. The odds makers may finally be catching up to them. They're just 4-6-1 ATS in their last 11 as a dog, but they're still 3-2-1 ATS in their last 6 as a road dog. And I think the situation favors them tonight, so I definitely lean Oklahoma City plus the points in that game.
So I look pretty hard at this game, and I ended up making a case for both teams. So let me give you a little bit of the case for Toronto in this one. It starts with a newbie. It starts with the matchups. Because Toronto has the defender that can stay in front of Gilgeous-Alexander. And if you cut off the head of the snake for OKC, they can beat your San Antonio when Gilgeous-Alexander doesn't go off. But they're certainly not a team that I would trust in a game against a playoff contender where SGA, I think, is likely to be contained. So I think that's a matchup that works in Toronto's favor. And Toronto, for their struggles on their last road trip, they are 4-0 straight up and against the spread. Their last 4 at home, they've been playing good ball on this floor. Do either of those factors concern you here, or is this, look, OKC's been making money for me in this role all year long. Ride it, and keep riding it. There's no reason to jump off the train.
Well, I'm not a matchup kind of handicapper when it comes to the NBA, so that doesn't factor in for me. But it's interesting that you bring that up, though, because, I mean, there are so many different ways to handicap a game. You could have, me, you, Prez, Steve, and we could all find something different, a different angle in the same game. Everybody's approach is different. I'm more of a situational trends and angles guy. I'm not a matchup guy. So, like I said, it's interesting though that when I can talk to somebody that's more of a matchup handicapper, it's a bonus for me because one, if they agree with me, that just strengthens the play for me. But if they disagree with me, it makes me go back and maybe take a second look at that game. So that's always a valuable tool to have if you have another successful handicapper with a different approach as you.
No, I'm not
Dwayne
disagreeing with
Bryant
you.
joining us.
I
Yeah,
just,
go ahead, Teddy.
I'm just pointing the other side. It's a game, but I looked at both sides and ended up leaving alone. I'm sorry, Lawrence. Thank you.
Yeah, hey, listen, Dwayne, just so you know, because this is your second or third, it's your third time, I think, on Wager Talk today. Teddy really gets a kick out of disagreeing with everybody's picks. It's his special thing. How to handle it is where the great and the good are separated. My suggestion to you is just remember he's got angry resting face. He wants to annoy people and smile all the way through it. That's how I look at that face. Look at that face, Dwayne.
I
Dwayne,
don't
we
know,
don't
but
norm. Yeah.
I guess I came across wrong there. I wasn't offended at all. I
Oh
think it's
no,
great.
not at all, not at all. Yeah, not at all. I'm just trying to start with Teddy. Anytime I have an opportunity to start with Teddy, I'm going to take it, Dwayne.
In fact,
I love the
the other
Dallas.
shows, the other shows I'm on, it's like I tend to disagree with a lot of people, and it's actually Joe Ranieri has made actually a running joke out of it every show I'm on. So it's funny in a way, but like I said, also it's a good thing to get a differing opinion. Not that Teddy was disagreeing with me, but he was approaching the game from a different angle that I don't consider, and that's of value to me, whether he disagrees or
Yes,
not.
yes. Did you listen to Steve Merrill's take on Penn State and Texas A&M? We don't normally do the same games twice, but you wanted to speak about that game as well. Also, before we get into that, Johnny Wynn bought your 5% play today. Johnny, thank you on behalf of Dwayne. Way to go. We appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Guys, please subscribe to our channel. Please hit that like button. So, Dwayne, Penn State and Texas A&M. I'd love to hear your take on this game. Again, it's a late game, so a lot of people will be betting it as they do. The later the games, the more money seems to come on them. How do we handicap this one?
And I did play this yesterday, and I released it yesterday to my subscribers at +3. I see Penn State is down to +2.5. I actually like Penn State at anything +2 or better for a normal sized wager. Congrats to Penn State coach Micah Shrewsbury. I mean, he got his team into the big dance in just his second season, and damn near upset Purdue to win the Big Ten tournament as well. They were the underdog in all 4 Big Ten tournament games and had a chance to beat Purdue at the end, but couldn't get a shot off. I'm not a fan of moral victories, but they have to feel good about the run they made in that tournament, and that confidence should carry over here, I believe. On the other side, A&M's coach Buzz Williams, he's got his Aggies in the big dance for the first time in his 4 years there. They did get drilled by Alabama in the SEC tourney title game, got beat by 19 as a 4.5-point dog. This game qualifies in a situational angle I mentioned in another show I did as single-digit SEC favorites that come into the tournament off a loss, like Texas A&M here, are just 4-6 straight up, 2-8 ATS over the last 3 NCAA tournaments. Going back to Penn State for a minute, in Shrewsbury's 2 years at the helm, Penn State has dominated neutral site games, 8-5 straight up, 12-1 ATS in neutral site games. And that was with an average line of +2.8, which is about what we have in this game. For comparison, Buzz Williams' Aggies were just 3-4 straight up in ATS in neutral site games this season, despite the average line being A&M a 4.3-point favorite. Looking at matchup wise, Penn State is an elite 3-point shooting team. Texas A&M is 352nd out of 363 teams in 3-point attempts per field goal attempt, and they're 212th in open 3-point rate. Those numbers come from shot quality. Penn State's defense struggled this season against elite jump shooting teams and also struggled to force turnovers. But those are 2 areas where you don't need to excel when you're facing Texas A&M. And there weren't too many good 3-point shooting teams in the SEC from what I remember. Bottom line, I just like the fight this Penn State team has shown recently. I think they take that confidence from the Big Ten tournament and keep that momentum going here. I like the matchup for them as well. So I took 10 Penn State plus the points.
So let me ask you this, because I asked Merril a question. He liked the other side of that ball game, and I asked him a question related to Penn State's consistent covering as an underdog. I'm going to ask you the question about Penn State being out of gas. This team has now played 8 straight games decided by 4 points or less. They played 4 games in 4 days last weekend. They're not a team with extended depth. The Nittany Lions still have everything left in the tank. Or is that anything we're worried about for tonight?
I mean, I think that, I can't say that they've got everything left in the tank. I think they've got more than enough left in the tank to get the job done tonight. And like I said, for me, the momentum, the confidence that they got from the way they performed in that Big Ten tournament, I think that does carry over here. I think that helps them overcome any fatigue that they may have. I just love the spot for them in this game today.
Outstanding stuff, Dwayne Bryant. Good luck today. Kick ass, man. You're going to be on Wager Talk Today every 2 weeks, so we will be able to see you again. Thanks, brother. I think you've promoted, right? What's going on? Yes, you've promoted. Perfect. Take that Dallas Cowboy hat behind you. Toss it away. No, Zeke looks like he's going. So let's move on. Teddy covers. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, your big game breakdown, and of course, the incredibly handsome Kyle Anthony still to come.
What's happening, guys? And another greatest day of the year coming up this Friday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, obviously. We're offering up a huge discount over at WagerTalk right now to get my 30-day all-access pass for only $5.90 per day. That's every play across every sport, including all 5% top plays as well. So use code LUCKY, L-U-C-K-Y, LUCKY at checkout to take advantage of that special offer, which knocks a massive $122 off the regular price. So happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. Make sure and stock up on the Guinness and Jameson ahead of Friday. And until next time, as always, Slánahwalya.
It is time for today's big game breakdown. Let's talk some big dance Thursday night, Northwestern and Boise State. This one's going to be fun in Sacramento, 7:35 Eastern time, 4:35 here on the left coast. Right now, look at the Wager Talk live odds screen. I'm seeing the Wildcats, let's call them -1.5. There are some -2s popping up. Total sitting at 128/128.5 as we speak. Look, I'll give Northwestern credit for getting here. All right, Boo Booey went nuts in a bunch of games this year, and their defense was exceptional. And a lot of opponents look past them a little bit. But they've lost 4 of their last 5. The lone win came against a Rutgers team who collapsed down the stretch. This is not a team that's in great current form. This isn't a program that has changed. Northwestern is an NIT squad posting as an NCAA team. All right. Boise was the best team in the Mountain West for most of the season. The conference got 4 teams in for a reason. And I know that the Mountain West Conference has been devalued in recent NCAA tournaments. They do not have a good point spread track record or straight up track record. And I know that Nevada got annihilated last night out before halftime against Arizona State. But Boise, they were the best team in the league for most of the season. They beat Colorado. They beat Washington State. They beat Texas A&M. They beat St. Louis. All straight up wins, all as underdogs, all away from home. They're a senior-laden squad. They're worthy of support, and I think they beat Northwestern tonight. So give me Boise plus the 1.5. You take them on the money line if you so choose. I might look for a +2 or a little push protection late. In my mind, that might be the best way to play this one. But I do like Boise plus the points and probably to survive in advance against a Northwestern team that's a little bit overrated right now. There's your big game breakdown. Back to you, Mr. Prez.
Teddy, thank you. Great stuff, guys. Please hit that like button. 260 of you are watching. And look, I get it. Today's going to be a show where we don't have as many people watching. Everyone's getting ready for the mess. So let's get the likes for the daily presidential address. We're at 48. Also, while Dwayne Bryant was talking, G-Mode typed in the chat room, Vivian's washing dishes. He was 100% correct. Vivian was washing dishes. Won't happen tomorrow. We will keep it quiet. What now, idiot?
That is the most important thing for the best, you call it the best sports betting show on the planet. We've got 8 minutes left. We got Kyle Anthony to talk UFC, and you're talking about your fiance washing dishes. Knock yourself out.
So I said that in about 7 seconds, and then you spent 30 seconds complaining about it. So, yeah. Ladies out there, get ready. Kyle Anthony is joining us with his V-neck. Kyle, the V-neck has sort of gone out of fashion, bro, but I still wear mine. But I'm taken. You're not. Why are you wearing out of fashion clothing?
What are you talking about? This is a T-shirt. T-shirts don't go out of style, Prez.
No,
T-shirt.
No, you can't buy V-necks at the top stores anymore. They are out of fashion. Shame on you. But with that said, look, if I had your physique, I'd be wearing a V-neck too. Frankly, I'd be on the show without a shirt on, but that's a different story. Dude, lots of great UFC fights coming up over the next little while. This weekend, we've got Usman versus Edwards, and this should be a doozy. Plus 10 for Edwards, minus 260 for Usman. It's the main event. What do we do in this fight?
Well, this is one here where it's the trilogy. It is the trilogy. You did have each one win. Most people don't remember the other loss that did happen from Edwards. But this is a spot here where when you're talking about this fight, you've got to talk about the wrestling. You've got to talk about the grappling. And that's all going to be on Usman's side. He's going to have that quick first step. He got 5 takedowns on their last time that they were out there. And early it looked like Edwards was doing, starting to counter it. But throughout the fight, he definitely had more advantages, getting that control time. And I think the real big issue here for Edwards is going to be the low volume. He really has a low volume output. He's the kind of guy that really allows other opponents to dictate that type of pace. Even against Nate Diaz, where he was slapping him around for 5 rounds, never went in for the kill shot, never really went into, more risk adverse, I guess is the way you're going to be looking at it. But the way he has to really kind of maneuver through this fight is pushing the pace. He's got to get Usman on his back foot. Wrestlers off of their back foot, going to be much more difficult to level change, to find opportunities to level change. That's absolutely going to be happening. The striking side of things as well, too. That's got to go to Edwards. But the biggest thing here for me when you're looking at this fight, a lot of times we're talking about stats, we're talking about optically what we're seeing, we're talking about paths to victory, we're talking about styles. I think this fight has a lot of intangibles that a lot of other fights don't really have. And I think the first part here is going to be, it's the first knockout that Usman has ever had. And not only being the first knockout, but a brutal, brutal, brutal knockout. It was knockout of the year. Not the greatest thing for him there. So you do have that. Could be timid in the pocket, could be diving at legs a little bit more too. But you add in the fact that that was his first knockout loss. Now you kind of sprinkle in the fact that he's going to be 36 in a month. And he has talked about multiple times, even before the last fight, he was talking about retirement. He was talking about other things, fashion, kind of getting into other things. That's not what I want to hear from any fighter that I'm going to be betting. They're talking about retirement or other avenues of income. That's not always a good thing to hear. Not that Usman has got one foot out the door, but it doesn't sound that great. And plus the other part here is Edwards needed confidence. He was the kind of guy that didn't really have the confidence moving forward. He always kind of seemed to doubt himself. He's going to have that moving forward. And I think the biggest stat that you can possibly get on this fight is going to be UFC fighters trying to win back their title in an immediate rematch are 3-11 in the history of the UFC. That's a 21% win rate. I think that is really important when you're looking at this fight. A lot of times fighters who have a long, history of wins holding the title, once they start to decline, skills really start to decline. So I think this number here is a little wide for me. I like Edwards plus 210. I think is a good spot. I think he goes out there and he gets the job done.
Kyle Anthony says, look at the plus price underdog. You'll get better than 2-1 if you back Leon Edwards right now. Let's talk about one of the fights on the undercard. Marvin Vettori against Roman Dolidze. Dolidze? I don't know how do you pronounce his last name. That being said, look at the WagerTalk live on screen right now. Vettori about minus 275. Dolidze, what? Plus 230. Total 2.5. Heavy juice to the over. Bettors think this one might go the distance. What do you think in the undercard on Saturday night?
Well, this is definitely an interesting fight here because this is going to be a grappler versus grappler matchup. And a lot of times you got two grapplers. A lot of times it becomes a kickboxing match, or if it's two kickboxers, sometimes the grappling comes into effect, kind of nullifies each other. But this is a spot here when you're looking at what Marvin Vettori does and how he really kind of moves through the fight is really going to be the pressure, the cardio, the pace, smothering you up against the fence, utilizing his boxing for the most part, just to cut distance, just to get his hands on you, and then look to wrestle, level change. And that's kind of been his path. When you're looking on the other side here with Dolidze, Dolidze is a powerful guy, explosive. He definitely has finishing ability, finishing upside. The big issue with him has been the cardio. And I think that's what has pushed this line a little bit wider than normal, is that Vettori has insane pace, insane cardio, and on the other side, Dolidze tenfold. So that's going to be an issue. But the one thing that I think really sticks out to me is really how this fight could unfold. And Vettori is not a guy who's going to stay at range and just work volume. He does not have the greatest striking. So he's a guy who's going to lean on you. He's going to lay on you. He's going to push up against the fence. Dolidze will absolutely be happy with that type of situation. He is a grappler. He has a lot of power. Even when he runs out of basically energy, he still has the ability to maneuver on the mat because he is so damn good when it comes to that. He's got 4-0 run, 3 of them by finish. You saw what he did against Jack Hermanson, where Hermanson was looking for takedowns. He finds this half slicer, reverses, gets the knockout. He is so lethal on the ground. And the one thing I think he does really, really better than a lot of guys in the division, that what Dolidze does is he really chains submissions together. He'll grab an arm, and as you worry about the arm, he'll grab a leg. He'll then all of a sudden you worry about the leg. He goes to the neck. He is so creative when it comes to that until he finds a dominant position or till he gets the finish. So Vettori's going to be looking for clinching and all of that. I think it fits into what Dolidze likes, even though he has the worst cardio. So at this price here, I mean, you look at a prime probability of around 75% for Vettori. I think that's way too high. He should be the rightful favorite, but I do think that the price here, Dolidze plus 230, is a great number on a guy who I think can go out there, either get the finish or find a way to win on the scorecards.
Kyle Anthony, way to go, bro. What do you got to promote?
I got this weekend 5-1 run on 5% max plays. Got one up right now. Probably going to have about 3 or 4 plays on this card. Looking at some other nice plus money, and actually the 5% max play is a plus money play as well too. So
Nice.
I'm locked and loaded and ready to go.
Excellent stuff. Kyle Anthony, everyone. You can find him at WagerTalk.com. Teddy, look, I know we're up against it, but B. Reed has copy and pasted a question for you about 7 times. They're actually making fun of him in the chat room over how many times he's asked the same question. What he wants to know is, and look, I don't really fully understand the question here, but I'll just read it to you. Teddy, I asked yesterday in the comments about navigating through your horrible 5-12 college hoops run while you're crushing it in the NBA. So basically what he wants to know here, and this has happened to me many times. Last week I was killing it in the NBA. I was losing every single college basketball game. He wants to know how you navigate through that. I mean, from my perspective, you just keep moving forward 1 foot at a time. Understand that this is a long tail game. And that ultimately you're going to go through. I went through a 2-13 college basketball run last week. It's just going to happen. You can't let yourself get down about it, and you just keep moving forward. Do you want to add anything to that? Because I don't fully get the question, but
So there's 2 ways to navigate through it. one way is if you don't like my college, don't play my college. Just play the NBA. The NBA is rolling. The college has not been rolling. You're certainly more than welcome to do that. That said, and the other alternative is to play college for smaller units. And the third alternative is to just stay the course, as Lawrence was saying. That's the one that I would recommend. Last week was not a good week. Yesterday was not a good night. That being said, I have not lost my confidence in college hoops. I've got a good track record in college hoops.
Yeah.
And I expect to win this week in college hoops. So
yeah, and
thanks for the question. And really appreciate. All good. Sorry, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Now I'm done talking. So now's your time to jump.
Oh, shut up, Ted. Reed follows it up with why not ride your NBA when you're hot in NBA and not put out your college basketball as you're cold, et cetera, et cetera. And B, it just doesn't work that way. Teddy's confident in his college basketball. I'm confident in mine, so to speak. And ultimately, the stuff swings so fast. So it's like you could be on a 15-2 NBA run and a 2-15 college basketball run, and 3 days later it's reversed. You do what you do, you keep moving forward, and the runs will work themselves out. Okay, Kendrick, I see your text. Email customer service, and they will give you those plays. So email customer service at WagerTalk. Teddy, it's time for the daily presidential address. Okay, guys, real quick, March Madness starts today. I've got 5 college basketball plays up. None of them are the very early games. I also have a big NHL 4% total bet tonight. On those plays, I am 37 and 15. 37 and 15 run in those 4% NHL totals. Plus, I'm up double-digit profits in college basketball. So please head over to WagerTalk and grab my entire package. As for your NHL bets in the daily presidential address, I actually love this card. I mean, there are so many beautiful games to bet, and all 3 of these plays I'm giving out, I'm personally betting. We're going to start with the New York Rangers at minus 140 against the Pittsburgh Penguins. And Pittsburgh has really played much better than I thought they would down the stretch. This team has won 2 of their last 3. They did lose a brutal game against Montreal, 6-4. Shame on them for that. But this team, I expected this team to fade, and they've won 7 of their last 10 games. New York Rangers, I think the New York Rangers are a deadly hockey team, a team that is only going to get better as the season progresses. I think we see Pittsburgh lose tonight, but I do think we see Pittsburgh bounce back in their next game. The next play I like, and this is one of my favorite plays on the board, is the New Jersey Devils. Guys, the New Jersey Devils just lost to Tampa Bay in their last game. They're on a home-and-home back-to-back with Tampa Bay. The New Jersey Devils have not lost 2 games in a row since December 28th. This is a team that has shown that they can win, that they can avoid losing streaks, that they can avoid losing 2 games. And Tampa Bay, this team has played terrible of late. This team has lost 7 of their last 10. They have not won back-to-back games in over a month. I think it's been 14 straight games where they have not won 2 games in a row. I like the New Jersey Devils. And the Oilers are playing Dallas tonight, and I like the Edmonton Oilers as well. They are minus 142. I would also throw a very, very small amount in the Edmonton Oilers and the New Jersey Devils. That's it for the daily presidential address. Teddy, my brother, skiing awaits. Take us home.
Yeah, Lawrence is going skiing. The rest of us are going to go watch the NCAA tournament. Enjoy the games. Good luck. We'll see you guys again tomorrow right here on WagerTalk Today.
What's happening, guys? And another greatest day of the year coming up this Friday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, obviously. We're offering up a huge discount over at WagerTalk right now to get my 30-day all-access pass for only $5.90 per day. That's every play across every sport, including all 5% top plays as well. So use code LUCKY, L-U-C-K-Y, LUCKY at checkout to take advantage of that special offer, which knocks a massive $122 off the regular price. So happy St. Patrick's Day to everyone out there. Make sure and stock up on the Guinness and Jameson ahead of Friday. And until next time, as always, Slán Abhaile.